How's it going, folks? Welcome to KS Customs. Once again, today we're going to have a discussion and we're going to go over some of the tools that I personally use in customizations, everything from some paints that I use and the benefits as well as flaws in different types of paints, paint brushes, everything that I use. Mainly the basics that I use when it comes to kit bashing and also making different types of figures that I do. One of the most important things to always have is I use gloves because something we tend to use a lot are different types of knives. You can have everything from a utility knife to different forms of hobby knives, X-Acto knives. As you can see, I have tons of them all around. I always try to remember to wear gloves because I've had in prying figures apart. I've slipped many times and jabbed a knife into my own finger multiple times. So usually the gloves can kind of help with that, especially if it's a slip. And if you have some nice leather gloves, you might not cut yourself. So another really important thing to use is a hairdryer. Some people will do what's referred to as boil and pop. It's where you can get the action figures or parts and heat them up by putting them in hot water and then using that to separate it because it loosens it up and you're able to pry it apart. The hairdryer works quicker and it's a lot less messy. I've noticed if it's something that's a little bit more well glued together or manufactured a lot better, sometimes I will heat it up with the hot water because I can leave it sitting in there a little long without damaging the outside of the plastic. Whereas a hairdryer can melt some of the plastic, especially if you're dealing with a softer plastic. The the coolest thing about a hair dryer too is you can take your time with it and you can directionalize it so you can aim it at certain areas. Like if you're working on a figure, so if I'm heating up, say I'm heating up this figure, and I want to pull the arm off the shoulder joint, I can point that hair dryer in this area and pretty much just heat this part up. And it's going to heat up a wider spectrum, but I can directionalize it enough where I can pull it off here. And this is pretty much the only part that's getting warmed up. It's about that wide. Whereas if you're submerging it or you put it in hot water, the whole piece is getting there. And if you've painted it, that's another negative about boiling or using hot water is if you've painted it, the paint will get damaged from the water, whereas you're less likely, not completely, it's not completely safe, but you're less likely to damage the paint that you've done to it if you have to heat it up with a hairdryer. That happens in times when after you've painted something and either you missed a spot or you're not happy with the way it fits or the way it looks. That's why dry fitting is so important. But I have painted something or done it completely and not like say the lower part of the leg and needed to replace that. So even after painting it, I've had to replace that part to repaint. So there's always a chance that your design will change as you're going forward. Another thing that I tend to use a lot of are these little stands, which are little headstands from these are NECA headstands. They have different tips on them for different sorts of head sculpts. So depending on what the neck peg inside of the head is like, there's different adapters that will fit the heads differently. So these are really useful, but not completely necessary. It's kind of something I owning a toy store. I just came across those a lot from customers. One thing I do really use a lot, and this works for heads and everything. This came from like Hobby Lobby. It holds these little stakes with these alligator clips, and I use these when painting all sorts of parts. You can, use the alligator clip, put a piece in there, and stand it up like that. And either like it's good for if you use spray paints or as a drying rack, or even I've used it to hold heads. You could put it. I would usually put a little bit of sticky tack right here on the end, and then put the head up here like this, and it will hold it for painting and stuff like that. It's also good to hold your pieces while you're still working on it. Another thing that I really use a lot is these are just little they're hobby snips. I think they sell them with the jewelry stuff, I believe. I think these came from a jewelry making kit that somebody had, but these little snips, I know they sell them with model kits and stuff like that. They're really good for trimming plastic and trimming pieces up. These are pretty handy to have in your customization kit, as well as some kind of little grabbers, pliers. Usually you want something with plastic ends though, not metal, so you don't damage the plastic. These are the only ones that I have on hand right now. Cotton swabs are really important. I use those with alcohol to clean up the parts, clean up the if I make mistakes on painting, if you use like I showed you with the clear nail polish, put a little bit of that on a cotton swab, and you can clear up smudge marks and stuff like that on figures. And it's also really good just to clean up spots. I use regular isopropyl alcohol just to clean areas, and it's a good idea to clean it before you paint it. Everything comes molded in this. They put this. It's almost like an oil on it to release them from the molds when they come out. So everything has this film to it. So if you initially paint on most toys, the paint doesn't stick very well. It's a good idea to get some really high grade or high grit sandpaper, like 400, 420, something that doesn't leave real bad scuff marks on it to sand your toys down. I don't always do it. I usually give them a bath in alcohol, let them soak maybe overnight, and it kind of makes the plastic a little bit more porous, so the paint will adhere to it a little better. And then also there's, of course, primering. I take the joints and anything that's going to have rub areas, those I will sand for sure. If it's not just some pieces I make are display pieces and they're made to be put in, like sometimes I'll make boxes for them, similar to this. This is one I'm actually working on right now. But if he's going to be made to be put into a box, then I'm not super intricate on paying it, like sanding down all the joints and stuff like that, because it's not meant to be taken out. But if you're going to use it and you're going to have motion on it, definitely make sure you sand, coat, primer, coat, primer, coat, or coat, seal, coat, seal, coat, seal, at least 3 times on the joint areas so the paint doesn't rub off. I also use different types of these are tools that are actually made for candle making, for carving into wax. I use this when I use the epoxy to do the like hair and stuff like that. I use it to make fine lines for the hair or to do details in any of the sculpting that I add on to action figures. I'm actually looking to see if I have any of my sculpting clay around that's not just in a clear bag, but I think it's all it's all just in sandwich bags right now. I use either multi-put or green stuff. Green stuff is a lot more flexible. It's really good for hair. It's a two-part. It's yellow and blue mixture that you combine, and it creates like a putty. And I use that to sculpt, especially hairs, because even when it dries, it's got a little flex, got a little give to it, where it's not super stiff. And it takes paint very well. So green stuff works really good. Also multi-put, which you can get from Hobby Lobby, I believe. Green stuff you may have to get off of Amazon, unless you have a hobby store near you that carries something like that. I wish I had a boxed one so I could show you it, but mine's just in a Ziploc bag. So, and then moving on, we're going to talk about the different types of paints that can be used, and I use a few different types. Primarily, I'll use whatever I find that's available. I use a lot of the just like deco art. Just you can get Apple Barrel or just cheap Walmart paints. As long as you apply it thin, apply multiple layers, and once again, coat, you seal, you coat, you seal, you coat. I do it around 3 times. But also sometimes you want something that's going to coat a little quicker, that's going to have more vibrant colors, more something that's made specifically for plastics and stuff like that. And that's when you get into things like this. I use that's Vallejo, which I believe is available at places like Hobby Lobby and stuff like that. And then Citadel. Citadel paints are amazing paints that I've only been able to get them actually at one hobby store around here. There's not many hobby stores around anymore, so it's pretty hard to find any place that carries it, or Amazon. Citadels are primarily used for miniature painting and tabletop game stuff, so they have a very vast catalog of colors. So if you're not into mixing a lot of colors on your own, you could probably find what you're looking for in a Citadel color. So, and then when it comes to paintbrushes, I use pretty much anything. Little cheap 99-cent brushes because you go through them so quickly. I do have a set of specific ones from, I believe, oh no, I don't think they have a name on them. I will buy, what are these? They're specifically made. You can get them at hobby stores. They're made for miniatures. I have like 3 or 4 different sets of them, but because you do so much damage and so much wear and tear on paintbrushes. The 99-cent store brushes are fine for base coats for large areas. I also go to places like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or something like that, and I'll get ones that are specifically made for acrylic paints because they hold up with the thicker paints a little bit better. And they have multiple sizes, but then it's a good idea to have probably about 5 or 10 detail brushes that are your higher quality. Those you can get, once again, you can get them at any hobby store or even like Michael's and Hobby Lobby and stuff like that have your smaller detail brushes. Those are really good depending on what scale you're painting for, like eyes and stuff like that. One trick that I do when I'm painting action figures that are either 6 to 7 inch scale, even 8 inch, like um, I use the tip of these. Little tip is about the size of a toothpick, or you can use a toothpick. That's how I do eyeballs. I paint. I'll paint the eyeball, the white, which I usually mix a little bit of flesh in there so it's not solid white. And then I line the eye with a darker color, and then for the eyeball, just I dot it with this. Eyeballs are really tough. So it takes practice. So don't ever be don't get really discouraged when it comes to painting them. Some people do, like, there's decals out there that are made to, or stickers that you can put over that will, for eyeballs. And there's, some people are amazing at painting them, and my eyesight is not that good. It's a simple little dot for me. Let me see. This is one that I recently painted. Let's see if we can. It's kind of hard to catch it with the light the way it is. But that works actually really good for me for the eyeballs. And I also use, I use toothbrushes with alcohol. Any isopropyl alcohol. Just I use it to clean joints and stuff like that. When you get a little bit of paint buildup, I'll get in there with a toothbrush or a towel. Not good towels, because the paint, even though it is acrylic and water based, it tends not to wash off. I'm constantly wiping my face with, and it's mostly because my beard gets in my mouth. But I use towels for everything from cleaning off brushes to taking the painted decals off of action figures, to cleaning up your own messes. Pretty much, towels are very useful. I usually just go and buy one of the things of terry cloth towels that you can get at Walmart, or you can use paper towels. It's just, I think it's more economical and environmentally sound if you use reusable towels. You can just wash them. Yeah, I mean, these are just pretty much the basics of tools that I use. There's also for some people that need it every now and then. Though it's not necessary, it is definitely handy to have, which would be a Dremel with different types of. I usually use sanding bits and a couple different drill bits. It's definitely a staple in my toolkit for customs. Pretty much that's it. I use different action figure stands too. Different just to hold the figures while you're working on them, while you mock them up. There's all kinds of them out there. We actually have a friend of the show who I've shared on before, Tashi Station, who makes some really awesome display stands once you're done with your figures, so you can be able to display them. He does some really awesome stands there, you can see. Inspired by things like G.I. Joe and Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Masters of the Universe. So definitely, once your stuff is to the point, or if you're just looking for stands, he does make also everyday stands that can be used. Very cool stuff. Definitely give him a. I'm not even realizing that the camera's probably backwards when I show this, is it? um, yeah, it's probably going to be hard to read off there. I will. I will post a picture of it at the end of this video, as well as the information for his website. Really good, awesomely detailed. Not only action figure stands, but action figure stands with backgrounds and stuff. So, really cool stuff. So, the action figure stands are useful. Um, Other than that, super glue is always helpful. Sometimes you have to glue parts together. Um, and that's really about it. I didn't really go over the types of sealers I use because honestly, I'm out right now. Um, I actually have some coming by order. I do use it's a Vallejo. They have a matte finish and there is a gloss finish. They're just simple paint on sealers. There's also, I mean, you can use things like there is one. I believe it's called Army Builder. It's a matte spray that works. Spray coating tends to end up a little tacky for me. I think a lot more than if you were to brush it on. I kind of like the brush on a little bit more. I definitely brush on the joints, and I use the brush on while I'm painting. So I'll put a couple of coats on. Once you get to the coverage point, when I put my coats on, I put them on real thin. So by the second coat, it's usually a little thicker. I'll put a varnish then, and then I'll do another coat, probably two more coats, put a varnish, and then do a final coat with the varnish. That way, if you scratch it, there's paint underneath it. Once again, depending on it, that's going to be my more higher end customs ones that people use for posing and stuff like that. I don't suggest many complete painted customs be played with because the paint's going to come off. The paint's going to come off on anything though. So I mean, any unless it's molded in that color, scuff marks and paint rubs happen with every toy. But my more higher end ones that are complete paint jobs, like this is a complete repaint. It's going to be from head to toe, like everything, the skin tone, everything has been repainted. That's meant to be displayed. It's not even really meant to be posed. But the joints in there, you could see there's really no paint rub. But as it gets a little older, the paint will become more brittle the more it's being moved around. So it can wear away in time. But if you're just using it for display, it should hold up pretty fine. Also, this has not been. I should have thought about that before I move this around. That this does not have a final varnish on it. And there's other things that I do use, other little tricks and stuff that we'll get into moving forward. When I'm showing you actively of me redoing something, maybe when I'm doing some part swapping or boiling popping or things like that. Everything from like I said, the snips, the cutter, like these little snips are very, very helpful in the fact that there are some head sculpts that even though they're the same scale, the neck pegs don't work with certain figures. Sometimes you have to just completely clean out or sand or drill out the neck peg, like I did with the Raven head earlier on, I think it was last week's video, where I had to completely cut the neck off, reshape the head to be able to fit on a current WWE figure. And it's just things like that and that was the first time that I've done that. I've seen it done, and I'm trying to think if I've used maybe a different type of figure or a different if I've modded something else very similar, but it's I mean, I've had to get GI Joe, um, get like wrestling figures heads on a GI Joe scale, classified scale figure, which is oddly enough, the GI Joes are smaller. They're at a 6-inch scale, whereas the wrestling figures are about a 7. So there is a little bit of play, but not a whole lot. So you just got to be mindful and look at how things mesh together as you're doing it. And it's pretty much like any art. It's subjective. If you're happy with it, then it really doesn't matter how other people see it. And feel free to play around with stuff. That's why I have boxes and boxes and boxes of just fodder pieces, so I can mix and match and just kind of play around with them to see what works and what doesn't, what scale figures work with other scales, and things like that. One thing that I probably will get into in the next video is I will show you the Warhammer figure that we had painted in one of my classes with some students. I'll show you my version of it, my finished version. Well, he's not finished because I haven't done his weapons, but my finished version of the more battle-worn warrior that I have. And then I have, because I got so many for the class, I'm going to restart another one and have it be more modern and a newer armor, as opposed to the battle worn damaged armor that I have from the first one. So you can see the process that I go through of something that's been molded completely in gray, and adding my own take, my own colors to it. Actually, this is the incomplete backpack from that figure that I have down there. I still need to finish it, but and I lost his gun somewhere. But I'll probably finish this out so we can compare the completed one with the one that we will start here on the show, so people can see the process that I go through and get some ideas on everything from mixing the paints to trying different things like flesh tone. I'm gonna take a real good look into the figure. I'm thinking about possibly, if it's possible, doing a head swap on it too. So that may be something that is possible. I'm not even sure if it's possible or not, but that was possibly a show that I'll be working on in the next couple of weeks here. Next week I have another show with AJ. Who knows what we'll have to talk about, but that's pretty much it for this show. Like I said, I just wanted to go over the basics of the tools that I personally use, and everybody uses kind of their own stuff. If you have any questions, feel free. You can comment on any of these videos. You can direct message me. You can email me. Hell, my phone number is on there. You can call the store number. You can text the store number on there with any questions. If you have any requests, maybe you have something that you want to see me build or do, I'm willing to give it a shot. Like I said, I'm in no way a master of doing this. It's just something that I enjoy, and so many people have asked me questions that I feel I can at least spread some knowledge and some insight on how to at least get started in this hobby. Yeah, but to close it out, like I said, please definitely like, subscribe, share, comment, anything that helps keep the algorithm up. Like I said, this is basically a commercial for our show, for our store. We do sell toys. I do sell lots of stuff. You can check us out at kscollectibles.com. The link for the store is in our bio. We actually are going through a Father's Day sale right now until, just after Father's Day. 15% off of pretty much anything you buy. So, and we ship. We do delivery as well as local pickups if you are anywhere near Rialto, California. We have a small store built inside of a garage right now that you can come in and browse at, see what we have. Some of the stuff that's not on the website yet. Our website is constantly growing. It's a process that we're still building. So we got a couple of shows coming up soon. Once I get the final information on those, I'll share that information. So I'd like to thank everybody for their support. Appreciate you. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. If you need any tips or anything. Thanks a lot, everybody. Stay classy.
Ah!